And we're live. Yay, we're live. Okay, you guys, welcome to a special bonus Friday daytime episode of the Killer Author Club. We are here with the one and only fabulous Karin Slaughter, author of After That Night and so much more, and the new thriller in the best-selling Will Trent series. We have tons to talk about, so grab your coffee or a cocktail. It's only 9 o'clock out here. And your questions, sit tight, and we'll see you on the flip side.
Thought you really loved me, guess I was wrong. Thought you'd never leave me, guess I was dumb. Waited like forever to be your plus one, but I guess you were done.
Hello again, everybody. I'm Killer Kara Ruda, along with founding members Kimberly Bell and Heather Gudenkoff, and we're so excited to welcome Karin Slaughter to a special episode of the Killer Author Club. The Killers and I started the Killer Author Club so that readers like you can interact with some of the best suspense and thriller authors in the business. Killers like Chandler Baker, Frida McFadden, Jean Kwok, and so many more. Dates and times and all of that information can be found on our website, killerauthorclub.com. But today we're here with Killer Karin to talk about killing of the fictional kind, of course. Make sure to drop your questions in the comments. Though we can't get to them all, we'll choose some to ask our guests today. And if you're watching this on Facebook, be sure you joined Killer Author Clubhouse, our private group. We'd love to see you there. We also have a YouTube channel where you can stream us to your big flat screen TV, and you can find all of us wasting entirely too much time on social media. So without further ado, Kimberly, will you please welcome our special guest?
I would be so very honored to. Karin Slaughter is one of the world's most popular storytellers and the author of more than 20 instant New York Times best-selling novels. An internationally best-selling author, she is published in 120 countries with more than 40 million copies sold across the globe. She's also the founder of the Save the Libraries project, and I will be dropping the link in the comments section for that as well. It is a nonprofit organization established to support libraries and library programming. Pieces of Her is now a Netflix original series starring Toni Collette, and Will Trent is now a television series starring Ramon Rodriguez on ABC, and she has further projects in development for TV. And now she returns this summer with After That Night to thrill readers once more. Welcome, Karin.
Thank you. I'm
Bust
happy
of
to be here.
prose.
I know. Yeah. I got to have some fun here to, mix things up.
I love it. All right. So could you give us a quick short elevator pitch for After That Night?
I really suck at this because I tend to as you guys know, when you think about your books, you think about it in specific themes and things like that. So most of the time people fall asleep. So my short pitch for the entire oeuvre is sex, murder, chihuahuas.
I mean, I'm sold, and I loved it. I loved it.
Maybe not in that order, but it hits all those points, I promise.
Well, we have a lot of questions for this book, and I've seen a bunch already flying by in the comments section. So for now, everyone settle in for the killer cocktail of this episode, and no judging if you got one.
I don't, but I really want to make this. So Karin, you chose the Garden and Gun Frozen Gin and Tonic today. Can you tell us a little bit about why this is the go-to cocktail for Will Trent and company?
Well, it's more for Sarah. Will is like me. He doesn't drink. But during the pandemic, I put these bottles of alcohol behind me, and everybody thought I was an alcoholic. I took them away because it's I'm so tired of people saying, "Are you an alcoholic?" I would much rather, for the amount of calories, have a cupcake. So it's just basically like a Sophie's Choice. But this looked really great. It looked like the kind of summery drink that Sarah would drink with her sister, maybe if they were at the beach or something. So that's why I chose it. And I'm drinking water here, so I'm sorry. I'm such a boring author. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I cuss, but everybody does that now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, it looks delicious. I know I'm going to give that a try. So thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, usually these are at night, so it makes a little more sense.
Yeah. I was like, okay, I don't drink, but they want me to drink at noon and they're going to be drunk at 9. I think we need like a different topic for this.
Exactly. Just to clarify, I'm having coffee. Just don't, so don't
Sure.
worry. We're sort of normal. We just kind of kept that part in for some reason. Anyway, okay. After that night, book 11 in the best-selling Will Trent series is an Amazon editor's pick. Karen's Will Trent is now a sizzling hot streaming series with more than 37 million viewers on ABC. That's got to be so crazy. Anyway, from Kirkus, it's a significant achievement of Slaughter that the climactic revelations add still another layer of horror to her tale, a grueling, pitiless, yet compassionate anatomy of rape for readers who can take it. Enter the world of Karin Slaughter, just be forewarned, no going back, says Lisa Gardner. And Huffington Post says her talent is the equivalent of an Edgar Allan Poe or a Nathaniel Hawthorne, an exemplary storyteller weaving her words with skill and intelligence. She will be recognized as one of the great talents of the 21st century and will hold an honored place in the realm of world literature. Wow. It's so amazing. Okay, so Karin, given all of those accolades, we really need to know, how do you kill?
Well, let's just say theoretical, and I'll preface this by saying if a police officer ever wants to interview you about anything, shut up. Because if you look at employment contracts for police officers, legally, you cannot interview a police officer if he's a suspect without a lawyer present. So be like a cop is my advice. But since we're talking hypothetically and not anything I've ever been questioned about, I like, one of my favorite authors is Denise Mina, because she writes what is real crime. I mean, we write about serial killers and stuff like that, but with Denise, she's writing about what's more of a normal everyday crime, which is that people kill for stupid reasons, and then they do stupid things to cover it up, and they get in trouble, or they don't even kill. They do commit a crime, and then they do it's just making stupid choices. Most crime, which we're seeing a lot of that lately in the news. Just like it's not there aren't really a lot of clever masterminds like we have in crime novels. So I think if I murdered someone, it would probably be a really stupid, right? I mean, even serial killers make mistakes. Like the Gilgo Beach guy, it's like, dude, you didn't know a burner phone could be tracked? Are you not watching Dateline? You threw your pizza out. Do you not know about DNA? I mean, how many times have we seen that happen? So I'm sure I would do something really stupid and get caught and end up in prison. Because let's be honest, I mean, I'm not bashing cops at all. But any cop I've ever talked to will tell you that it's 99% the other person just screws up. And I am 100% confident I would screw up.
So you kill stupidly. Most people do that. I think you're right.
Yeah. Like you just grab something and whack them or push them or whatever. Yeah.
There's a judge here just recently who he texted his staff and said, I couldn't take it anymore, and just shot his wife in their home. Yeah, just like snapped. I know. So yeah, I mean, and then texted and admitted it.
Why didn't he just kill himself, right?
Right. That would have been a lot kinder.
I mean, I hate to dive into the gender thing so quickly, because I know you gals will do that. But it's like a woman would just kill herself, right?
Right.
A man, he's like killing the woman.
Right.
He's a judge. He knows what prison is like.
Right. Yeah, he's going to get it.
I'd rather live in prison. Well, there are easier ways to
get. Killer Kara has very enthusiastic dogs.
That's fine.
Sorry.
The characters in the book, the Will Trent series, have evolved so much over time. We've, as readers, we've kind of grown along with them and got to know them. Which character do you feel like has gone through the biggest transformation over the years, if there's just one?
I think it would be a tie, because I mean, Faith and Amanda are pretty consistent. Faith's always going to be grumpy and expect the worst to happen, and Amanda is always going to be like just doing third third level jujitsu, right? On everybody. But I would say Will is the most, because when I first started, and this was all by design, because I love reading series novels, right? I mean, I just get invested in the characters. And I think everybody who picks up a pen or sits at their computer to write, they're responding to what they've read. And sometimes you think, I wish this story had X, Y, and Z, and I'm going to write a story that has that. And so when I started writing Will, or even as far back as Sarah, I made the decision that they would grow and change with each thing that happened. Because we've all read a book where it's like there's murder and rape and violence and all these horrible things, and their mother's kidnapped and like gutted in front of them. And in the next book, they're like, oh, I miss my mom. Let's go on to the next crime. And so I wanted them to really be affected by what happened. And in Grant County, I mean, you could say Sarah definitely was affected by that. She moved into Will Trent's world because of it. So, but with Will, when you meet him in Triptych, he's very closed off. He's very quiet. He's in an abusive relationship where he is the person being abused by Angie. They haven't gotten to that to the TV show yet. I don't know how dark they're going to go. I do know they won't go as dark as I did. But, he has to get away from that. He has to become the type of guy that Sarah Linton would be interested in. Mm-hmm. And so in those two novels before Sarah, I was very aware of that, and that I needed to get him to a place where he was more open and more willing and worthy of being in a relationship with Sarah. And so that was a big change. But also Sarah has changed in a lot of subtle ways. When you meet her in Blindsided, the first novel she's in, she's very black and white. This is right, this is wrong. And a lot of shit's happened since then. I mean, I know it's my fault, but whatever. And, when you see her and after that night, she's talking about something that I talked about in Blindsided, but she has distance from it, and she has a more nuanced take on it. And that's a reflection of me. I mean, we all are not Gen Z, I'm assuming, unless the pandemic must have been really hard for you. But, we've all been through Me Too. We've lived in the world, and, our perception has changed. And particularly women in my generation, we're kind of caught in this weird spot. I'm Generation X, the forgotten generation. Baby boomer women are like, if a man gropes you or rapes you, well, that's just how men are. And then millennials are like, why are you putting up with that? And so Gen X is kind of caught in the middle of, men are thirsty. This is just what they do. And no, why am I spending all this emotional energy making excuses? This is wrong, right? So Sarah is kind of a reflection of that evolution as well. And I think that you wouldn't have her speaking so strongly and after that night without experiencing the world as it's been. And that's, we always bring what we experience into our novels. And that's the changes Sarah has gone through as well. And also she's gotten older. Not as old as me, but there's a lot of shit you put up with in your 20s that you will not put up with as you get older, which is why a lot of men on dating sites want 12-year-olds. But you get to a point where you're like, I would rather watch Netflix than go on a date with this moron who's only listening to find things to correct or disagree with when I'm speaking, right? So I think women have more choices. And so Sarah reflects that as well.
Yeah. That must be so hard to do, though. Like, how many books are you thinking ahead when you're writing them? Because to keep evolving a character.
Yeah, that is by design. That's my phone, by the way. I silenced it, but apparently not.
It's better than
but with Sarah, I always had this idea. When I started in Grant County, I knew about the second or third book how Grant County would end. And then when I started Will Trent, I knew how she would enter his life. I knew the things that he would have to do. I knew emotionally where they'd be. Now, you guys may have come against this in your own writing. It's very hard to write about happy people, right? Mm-hmm. That's why at the end of the romance is like, they're happy. In the end, So, and I don't like building tension through makeup, breakup. That, to me, that's just not interesting. And it just as a writer, the challenge of writing about a couple who's happy together, even though really bad stuff is happening around them, right? How does that pull them together? How does that pull them apart? That's where the tension comes from, is the external stuff. But even if they get in a fight, it's not going to be like slamming the door, walking out, sleeping with somebody else, that kind of crap. So that's a really difficult thing to find moments of tension from. And I'm really proud of after that night, because I feel like, they disagree, but Will isn't going to like go rogue or something. So that was really a subtle type of writing I definitely couldn't have done 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we're so rooting for Will.
No joke.
Yeah, we're so rooting for them. So in the book, you have the team's all gathered in Faith's kitchen, trying to explore this crime that had happened years and its connection to other crimes. And they have this like crime wall in Faith's kitchen, on the refrigerator, on the wall, with like complete with red yarn. Do you do that for your books when you're planning them? I can just imagine you've built this whole universe. How do you keep track of everything?
I keep it all in my head. So as I've gotten older, that's a little harder. I have it written more down. But I do, it's like are you a plotter or a pantser is the question. And I'm both. I have the basic structure, but a lot of the emotional stuff that writing is done in my head. And I mean, that's the exciting part. I remember a long time ago, I was talking to Sarah Waters, and she's an amazing writer, Tipping the Velvet and other books I can't recall. But we were talking about, ideas and the questions you get asked, because a lot of times you get asked very similar questions. And she said, it's funny because writing is really only 10 minutes of absolute fun, and the rest is the work. And the 10 minutes is, they're going to do this and this and this and this. And that's like a paragraph, right? And you've got to turn that into a 300, 400, 500 page manuscript. You've got to have characters developed. You've got to have twists and turns and all. And that's the work of it. That's what I relish is, I have a cabin in the mountains I go to. I isolate myself. I mean, I have a TV. I won't live like an animal. But it's just me and the story and thinking about what I'm going to do. And that's so exciting for me. But it's also the hard work of it is, how do I do this? How am I going to tell this new thing about Will and Sarah, or a standalone, or how am I going to keep people interested the way I'm interested?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is work. It's hard work. It's super hard work. So we have a question from one of our commenters. Karin, what do you think of the show? So curious to know how you feel about it.
I love it. I will preface this by saying the books are the books and the show is the show. And if you love the books and don't like the show, that's fine. You don't have to say it on my Facebook page. And if you love the show and you don't like the books, also do not post that on my pages. I don't need to know that. But I think it's great. I wonder why you're not reading more. But, Ramon Rodriguez is doing an amazing job. And no, he doesn't look like the Will I describe in the book. But in Brazil, he speaks Portuguese, right? So, it's like, this is just, they have to pick an actor at the end of the day. And you could have like a 6'3" Swedish guy who doesn't get the character, or you can have someone like Ramon who's put in the work and understands the nuance of Will. And I mean, I think he's doing a wonderful job. I think Liz Heldens and Daniel Thompson are doing an amazing job writing him and getting there's a whole writer's room. They're currently on strike, obviously. So season 2 hasn't started yet, but they're great people. And Iantha Richardson, who's playing Faith, is doing an amazing job. Sonia Sohn as Amanda. I mean, Erica Christensen, she's amazing. I think she looks the most like Angie, except the red hair, of course. But I mean, they're just all a great cast, and they work well together, and they're very professional. Betty is perfect in every way. I've seen the dailies, where they film everything and you get to see the raw footage. Betty always hits her mark.
Mm.
I mean, I can't imagine having that much discipline. And she's lean. She keeps her weight down. She shows up. Just a really all around good dog.
Awesome. Well, we're seeing lots of comments here. I love the books and the shows.
Is that hard to say?
Right.
And I think this was talking about Ramon. He's divine.
Yeah,
he's divine.
He is such a sexy man. I had dinner with him and I was like, is that drool in my mouth? I mean, he just is. And he's so sweet. And he grew up with sisters and a single mom. So he gets the whole will of it all. He's really great.
Yeah.
So this question is, do you go to the set to watch filming?
I do, but not a lot because I'm terrified of getting in the way. I got to hold Betty once, and we were doing pictures after that, and they got a lint brush out, and they're like, wow, where's this white fur coming from? Because she's tan and black. And I'm like, oh, sorry, that's my cat. But I got to there's in the 2-part finale, there's a dance scene at Johnny's Hideaway, which is this really
stop. I know Johnny's.
And it's kind of like, we won't say anything about the bar. You know the reputation if you know the reputation. But they had people dancing, and they were amazing. And just watching them, I mean, they would just pick up right where they were supposed to be. Their feet hit the same spot every single time. I mean, the continuity of it was really impressive. So I love seeing stuff like that and walking through the set. I got to see pieces of her when they were filming in downtown Atlanta. Unfortunately, it was 12,000 degrees. And I had to pass Bella Heathcote, who played Andy. She was walking in the door or out the door while I was walking in. And I'm like, I'm me. And she's like this 6 foot tall, 12-pound Amazon Australian girl. And I'm like, oh God, please, it's just not a good comparison. So, I'm just doopty-dooing past her. And she's like, ah. So that was fun. I'll never do that again.
That's a great part of living in Atlanta, or actually all of Georgia, right? Because they're doing so much filming. Did they film everything? Both?
No, they were going to do pieces of her here and in Canada, but then the pandemic happened. And Toni Collette's from Australia. Bruna Papandreou, who's the producer, she's from Australia. And they're like, let's just do this in Australia. So, if you've watched the pilot or the first episode, Andy, who's Bella Heathcote, gets on her bike at work and she goes through town and she goes to her house. That's the longest bike ride in the world because she starts off in Brunswick, Georgia, and her house is in Australia, Bondi Beach, I think. So it's like, whoa, she's got some strong legs. But it's really cool how they do that. It just blended in seamlessly.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't notice as a viewer.
No.
But Johnny's, I would recognize.
Oh, yeah. I kind of thought you might.
Okay. Somebody asked, what's the next book? More Will and Sarah or a standalone?
Yes, it's More Will and Sarah. I'm actually working on it now, but I had to stop to talk to you guys. So thanks a lot. It is late. We know who the killers are at fault here. Yeah, I'm real excited about it. I could give a lot away, but I'm not. So there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, we'll be waiting. We'll be waiting anxiously.
With bated breath.
Yes.
Thanks. Kimberly, I think.
So yes, it is time. So Karin is generously giving away 2 copies of After That Night. All you have to do is answer this question about our guests, and we will choose a winner from all the correct answers at all the different spots that we are streaming to. Bonus points for joining the Killer Author Clubhouse Facebook group or subscribing to our YouTube channel. And the question is, Karin is the founder of which book-related project?
But I don't have to answer this.
Wonderful. And Killers, we love independent booksellers and we appreciate your support of them. And Karin has selected the Foxy Foxes at Foxtail as her favorite indie. So, Karin, can you tell us a little bit about
Foxtails?
Yes.
It's in Woodstock, Georgia, which is a really cool town because everybody rides around on golf carts. And they have really great food and lots of cool night spots, but not too late because it's an older crowd. So like at 9 o'clock, I'm sure it shuts down. But Foxtails is right in the middle of town. I'm doing an event with my good friend Mary Kay Andrews there. I think tickets might be sold out, but they've got a wait list. And it's just a cute little store, and they support local authors with all their hearts. So I love going there, and I hope we get a good crowd.
Yeah, I just dropped the link in the comments, so you can click over and see if there are still tickets available if you live anywhere near.
Yeah, that sounds like a great event. Okay, you guys, and membership has its privileges. Every episode, we choose a name from the Killer Author Clubhouse to win a piece of Killer Author Club swag: t-shirts, mugs, candles, totes, all that stuff. So today's winner is Patricia Butler Steffen. So reach out to one of the killers and we'll send the swag your way.
Awesome. So Karin, we have really good news. You survived the Killer Author Club. I know. And we bestow upon you this badge. You can print it out, stick it on your shirt, on your forehead, on your wall. But thank you for being here, and thank you for surviving.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for being here. And so that does it for today's special bonus episode of the Killer Author Club. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. And thank you, Karin, for being here. We know we want you to get back to writing as quickly as possible. So
quickly.
Quickly. Don't blame us for anything. Yeah.
No, I am. I need a note for my editor, please.
Yes, we will write that. On October 17th, remember that we have our Killer Author Book Club with Christina McDonald, and she will be discussing the Still Black Waters. So be sure to join us for that. It's a book that our own killer Kimberly Bell has said, a whip-smart and completely unexpected story of a killer out for revenge and a damaged detective out to stop him. So we look forward to that. And remember that the book club is exclusive to the Killer Author Clubhouse. Please come join us. And we're back in just 4 days with the one and only Chandler Baker and her diabolically creepy cutting teeth right here on Tuesday, August 22nd at 9 p.m. For full schedule, past episodes, recipes, and merch, please come find us at killerauthorclub.com. And then we will see you next Tuesday. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in.
I guess I'm a killer, threw our love into the river. Heard you saying